The inner critic convinces us to play small so we don't risk failure. But in reality, it keeps us from ever growing. Have you ever noticed that the loudest voice of doubt in your life is not from other people? It is the one inside your own head. That little voice that says you are not qualified. You are going to mess this up. Who do you think you are? We all have an inner critic. And here's the thing. It doesn't matter how talented, skilled, or experienced you are. The critic finds a way to sneak in. You can be at the start of your journey, or you can be at the top of your career, and the inner critic still whispers. It doesn't disappear when you make it. If anything, it finds new lines to use against you. But here's the truth. The inner critic is not reality. It is just a story you've been repeating to yourself. And the good news is, stories can be rewritten. Hello there, beautiful people. Thank you so much for tuning into Mentium, the podcast that takes you on a journey to unlock the full potential of your mind. My name is Madiama. I will be your host and your guide on this adventure into the fascinating realm of mindset, mental fitness, and personal growth. Get ready to unleash the power of your mind with Mentium. This is episode number 2 of our Fearless Mindset series, where we're learning how to face fear, overcome self-doubt, and flourish. In our last episode, we talked about what it really means to have a fearless mindset. That fearless doesn't mean never feeling fear, but acting in spite of it. Today, we're diving into another battle we all face, the battle with that voice inside our head, the inner critic. For many of us, it's not outside critics who stop us. It's not even the fear of failure in the external world. The biggest obstacles to our courage is the inner dialogue that convinces us we are not enough. So let's talk about how to silence that voice, and more importantly, how to replace it with one that pushes us forward instead of holding us back. Let's define what we mean by the inner critic. The inner critic is that running commentary in your mind that constantly questions, belittles, and discourages you. Sometimes it's obvious. You hear it loud and clear. Other times, it's subtle. It disguises itself as logic or being realistic. It says, don't apply for the job. You don't meet the qualifications. Don't start that business. Most small businesses fail. Don't speak up. You might sound stupid. Now, where does this voice come from? Often, it's a combination of influences. Past voices, parents, teachers, people who doubted or criticized you. And worst, and whose word became internalized. Fear of rejection. Our brains tries to avoid embarrassment or disapproval by pre-criticizing us before others can. A false sense of safety. The inner critic convinces us to play small so we don't risk failure. But in reality, it keeps us from ever growing. Here is what's important to know. The inner critic thinks it's protecting you, but in truth, it is limiting you. Now, let's talk about the cost of listening to that inner critic. Basically, what happened when you let the inner critic take control? Well, you play small. You don't apply for opportunities. You don't pitch your ideas. You don't take bold steps. Instead, you stay in your comfort zone. Safe, but stuck. You second guess yourself. Even when you do act, you waste energy doubting or overanalyzing. Instead of moving forward, you spiral. You create self-fulfilling prophecies. When you believe I'll fail, you approach opportunities half-heartedly, and the results reflect that belief. You live with unnecessary anxiety. The critic steals peace, make you feel like you were never enough. And the greatest cost? The life you could have lived if you believed in yourself. Now imagine this. How many books have not been written because someone's inner critic said no one will read it? How many businesses were never launched because someone's critic said you'll fail? How many speeches were never given? How many inventions never built? How many dreams never pursued because the critic's voice was louder than courage. I'll never forget a coaching client I once worked with. He was brilliant, talented, creative, full of ideas, but every time he got close to launching something, he would pull back. When I asked why, he said, because the voice in my head keeps telling me I'm not good enough, that people will laugh if I put myself out there. Sound familiar? We worked on reframing his inner dialogue. He began by catching that thought, naming it when it came up. Then he questioned it. Is this really true, or is it fear talking? Finally, he replaced it. So instead of I'm not good enough, he began saying, I am growing every day. Instead of people will laugh, he reframed it as someone will be inspired by my courage. And here's the beautiful thing. Once he started rewriting his story, his actions followed. He launched his project. People did respond, not with laughter, but with support. And his confidence grew. That's what happened when you stop letting the critic hold the pen and start writing your own story. Now, how do we silence the inner critic? Let's talk about practical tools. How do you actually quiet that voice? Number one, catch the voice. You can't change what you don't notice. Start paying attention to your thoughts. Journaling helps here. Write down what your inner critic says during the day. You may be surprised at how repetitive it is. Step 2, question the story. Ask yourself, is this really true, or is it fear trying to protect me? Most of the time, it's not the truth. It's fear. Remember, fear exaggerates. Fear paints worst-case scenarios. Step 3, reframe the thought. This is powerful. Replace I am not ready with every step makes me ready. Replace I'm not enough with I am learning, I am growing, I am becoming. The words you repeat become the belief you hold. Step 4, create affirmations. Affirmations are not fluff. They're rewiring. They are the intentional practice of speaking truth louder than the critic. Try, I am capable. I am prepared. I deserve to be here. Step 5, take action anyway. This is the most important one. The critic thrives on hesitation, but the moment you take action, you prove it wrong. Each small, bold step chips away at its power. How do you live in the new story? Here's the thing. The inner critic may never disappear completely, but you get to choose who holds the microphone. When the inner critic says you can't, remind yourself, I can and I will. When it says you are not ready, you answer, progress makes me ready. When it says you are not enough, you affirm, I am more than enough. Over time, the critic's voice fades and your inner coach grows stronger. That's the fearless mindset, choosing which voice to amplify. Now, this week, I want you to reflect on the following questions. What is the most phrase my inner critic says to me? Where did that voice come from? And does it really belong to me? What new story do I want to start telling myself today? My friends, the journey to a fearless mindset is not about pretending the critic doesn't exist. It's about rewriting the story in your head until the voice of courage becomes louder than the voice of fear. So this week, I challenge you, catch your critic, question the story, and reframe it. Because when you change your inner dialogue, you change your outer results. And don't forget, this series is leading up to the launch of the Fearless Mindset course in the Mentium Institute this October, where we will go even deeper into silencing fear and building courage together. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for growing with Mentium. And remember, silence the critic, rewrite your story, and step boldly into the life you deserve. Until next time, take care of yourself and your loved ones. I am Madiama, and this is Mentium. Peace.